Welcome to the Joy Work Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business, right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the stories behind success. Not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that paved the way for them. Hiya, I'm Diane, and here we know that joy isn't just about the good times. Often the greatest joy comes right after the greatest challenge. And today I'm joined by Helen Bowman. Or actually, I would rather call her, as I got to know her social media handle, which is Helen in the Detail. I love it. Copywriter turn social media guru, helping people like you and me get through the world of social media with a little bit more joy and a little bit more peace. In this conversation, Helen and I chat the ever-changing world of social media, why showing up with personality matters more than getting it right with perfection, and how business owners can adapt, experiment, and dare we say it, still find joy in the online space. So whether you're navigating social media algorithms, wrestling with comparison, or wondering how AI might change the way that you create, this episode is packed with insight to help you keep showing up, keep sharing your story, and keep building your business with confidence. But as always, it's so much better to hear from the guests themselves. So let's go. Hi, Helen, and welcome to the Joy Work Show. I'm really delighted to have you here today, and I always love when I get to know the guest exactly the same time as the audience. So let us know who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Okay, well, hello. Thank you ever so much for having me. I'm very
You're so
excited.
welcome.
My name is Helen Bowman, and my business is In the Detail, and I am a social media content specialist. My background is a little bit convoluted, I guess. My background is in PR and marketing. So that's kind of where I learned to do all the things that I kind of do now with my clients. Only social media wasn't really a thing back then when I was actually in PR and marketing. So I'm a copywriter by trade. Let's get back to that. Words are my thing. I love writing. I love all that kind of thing. And it was in PR and marketing that I learned that I was half decent at that. I didn't realize I'd done kind of, one of these kind of cover-all degrees that someone who at the age of 18 has no clue what they want to do does. But that led me into kind of admin, and that led me into marketing, and I did my marketing qualifications, and then I fell into PR and discovered that I could write. So when I came back up home in 2006, because I did that while I was down in East Anglia for a few years. I'm actually from the northeast of England, a little place called Whitley Bay, just outside Newcastle. And when I came back to Whitley Bay in 2006, I kind of had the choice between getting a job and getting back into PR and learning all the contacts and, and having to start from scratch, basically, or setting up on my own, which is what I chose to do. But I wanted to cherry pick all the elements of PR that I enjoyed because I got a little bit round off with it. And so I cherry picked, I did sort of copywriting, editing and proofreading for a long time because social media wasn't really a thing back in 2006. Even when I went out networking like a demon, when I first set up, I would tell people I was a copywriter and people didn't understand what that meant.
That was.
I spent all of my time explaining what a copywriter was and how I could help them. And it took me such a long time. I got there in the end and I got, a nice bank of clients that I was working with on a regular basis. But then you fast forward a few years, I've had a family, I've worked flexibly around them, which is exactly what I wanted to do. Now they're a little bit older. I am focusing more full time on my business because it was kind of part-time. I had another little business on the side as well. And probably 3 or 4 years ago, I just found myself in a place where 90% of the work that I was doing for my clients was social media content because that was just what they needed the support with. And, it was a time where I was having to learn social media because all businesses really do need to do social media. And all my clients were like, oh, I've got to do social media on top of all the, blogs and articles and all that kind of thing that I was helping them with. And I just found myself in a place where I was like quite enjoying writing content for social media.
Mhm.
I was having to keep up with it and learn. Back then it was literally, a photo and a caption on
Yep.
Instagram than
Yep.
with
The
all the
good old days.
that. Yeah, yeah. But it was simple. It was simple. And so I've kind of grown alongside the evolution of social media, if you like, kind of learning how to do it for my own business so I could then translate that into providing that support for my clients.
Mhm.
And yeah, and so probably about a year and a half ago, I just thought I need to embrace this and actually tell people that I do social media content support rather than saying I'm a copywriter and I could help you with your social media,
Yeah, yeah.
because I was enjoying it and it was my kind of, my happy nerdy place was to be
Mhm.
creating content and writing words and helping people understand how to do social media in a way that doesn't feel like a full-time job. So
Yeah,
that's where I am
absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. I want to go back to you talking about being a copywriter because you said that when you went out networking and people not understanding what a copywriter is, think that's a thing. I do still think that people don't really understand what being a copywriter is, and when they hear the words copywriter, and it's interesting that I suppose you've gone on to niche into social media and like you say, going all in 18 months ago so that people fully understood that that's what it is. Because I think when people still hear the words copywriter, they think it's to do with books or newspapers
Mhm.
and they don't really fully understand what a copywriter does. So can you give a little bit of kind of background of either where the confusion comes from or what a copywriter actually can do or does?
Yeah, I mean, I can just give you my what I tell people really is that
Yep,
I
would love that.
basically provide all the words that a business needs to market themselves. So I think, copywriter used to maybe be more about sort of sales, writing ad copy and that kind of thing. Whereas,
Yes,
and
yes.
certainly, maybe other people might have a different definition, but my definition of a copywriter is writing words, or rather than using the word copy, writing words that help a business market themselves and sell themselves, but not in a salesy way. I'm not a sales copywriter. There are different, some copywriters are all about
Well,
sales
that's their
pages, sales.
specialty, that's their niche,
Yeah,
that's what their expertise.
exactly. Whereas I am more about the storytelling, the marketing, and really kind of building relationships. So I always say that I do things like blogs and articles and web copy. And I basically tell the story
Mhm,
of a business and how they help people and help them communicate
mhm.
how they can help their audiences, basically.
Absolutely, and I think people don't realise that a copywriter is literally anywhere you see a word, a copywriter's probably had their hands on it,
Yes.
or a copywriter could have their hands on it,
Yes.
and it's
It's
that
something that
thing
we can
of,
help with.
like, it's understanding the power of the word or changing that one word can actually change the way the whole sentence works or the way the ad works or way the social media caption or even the words on the social media content, because let's face it, every time we put up a post or anything, a reel, carousel with words on it, that is copy. That is our copy. That is our content. And I think people get lost in the jargon of it
Yes.
rather than actually what it is and what it can do in layman terms. So when you fully decided to go into kind of a niche of the social media, was that purely because that's what you saw what people needed the help with? That's what you were kind of reacting or being proactive even on what your audience were
Yeah.
talking about and what they needed?
Yes, it was. I had a handful of clients for whom I was doing predominantly social media content, and I'd always been doing my own. I was doing theirs, but also writing blogs and helping them with web copy and, all the words that they needed. But the majority of the work I was doing was the social media content. And as I say, I rallied against it a little bit because I think I was being a little bit kind of almost snobby about it, I guess. Like, I'm a copywriter. I'm not a social media
Mhm,
specialist. I'm a copywriter. And then I just thought, what am I doing? I really enjoy this element of things. I'd like to do this more for people. I'm finding that I'm really enjoying it and therefore I'm doing a good job, and loads of people need that help. I mean, a lot,
mhm.
there are many, many people out there who can write, who can pull together a blog post, who can do their own web copy. They are able to do that for themselves, whether they enjoy it. I do. Not everybody enjoys it, but that's where I come in, is when somebody, they can do it if they want to, but they maybe don't have the time or the inclination or the motivation or any of those kind of things. But with social media content, I think there's an awful lot to know around. It's not
Mhm.
just the words. There's an awful lot of knowledge to know around the formats of posts, and how to make it work with the algorithm. I'm not a believer in hacking the algorithm or anything like that.
No.
There's no way of
No,
doing
me
that. So
neither.
it's working with the algorithm and really relating to people, because at the end
Mhm.
of the day, if you are purely writing for the algorithm, it's going to be nonsense. And really, you need to be creating content for the person that you're trying to speak to, and then know how to tweak that to help please the algorithm.
Mhm.
And so I just found myself really enjoying that side of things, because I was educating myself to do it for myself, for my own social media, and also bringing those lessons into my clients' work as well. So it was a mix of conscious and being proactive. It was because I was enjoying it, and I thought, oh well, there's a need for this. People
Mhm.
need to understand how to do it in a simple way and not get stressed over it, and not spend all their time, because the danger is they see it as something that is really important, which it is, and then they end up spending so much time and effort and stress over social media that they don't have time to
Yeah,
do
everything else, yeah.
their actual do in the business. And so I've kind of made it my mission to try and explain to people how to do it in a really fun and simple way, because I believe that, and this doesn't apply to everybody, because not all businesses have a fun personality. Some are very professional and they need to be, and that's absolutely fine. But I like to work with businesses that have a real fun personality, and a little bit quirky, and don't take themselves too seriously. And that's their branding, their personality. And I believe that that kind of business can do really, really well on social media.
I think that I completely agree, and there's so much that I want to go back into everything that you've just said, and I think there is lots of people, particularly in certain generations, who don't understand social media, don't, and it's then, like you say, there's so much to unpack within the understanding that they overcomplicate it. They're
Yes.
spending far too long on one post.
Yes.
They're kind of overthinking everything that they do. And going back to that thing of like, there's lots of people who can write and there's lots of people who can create content and there's lots of people can do, but some people just don't want to. Some people
Absolutely.
just don't want it to be. And you have to, when you're building a business, and if your business isn't being a social media expert, a content creator, an influencer, then you want to be doing what your expertise is and get somebody else to help you if it's a burden. If it's something that you think I'm spending all my time on doing this and like not delivering, or more importantly, not selling the things I should be selling within my business to keep the business lights on, to provide the income that I want to earn in this dream life that I decided I was going to build when I started my business. Nobody gets into it thinking, oh, I'll just do it and it'll be all right. Everyone
It's
gets
over.
into it because this is what I want. I want freedom. I want flexibility. I want to have a different life than I have in the job or whatever it is that I'm doing. So I think that's really, really important. And I think people do really overthink the social media thing. And with you saying about that fun personality, I cannot think, and I have this conversation quite frequently, I cannot think of a business that it wouldn't work for, no matter how professional they are. They do need to have a personality. I think personal brand is going to become more important than ever, as we go on. And I've said that since I've actually said that since I've been in the online space, which is from 2023. Because kind of as soon as I started taking social media seriously, because previous to my business, my face didn't really exist on social media, but it kind of does now, which my friends find hilarious because I was the person that ducked out of pictures and now I'm like that selfie. So yeah, but I think there's so many businesses that have to embrace it,
Yes.
is where I'm trying to get to. I think there's so many businesses, and when I think about, I follow really successful accountants, I follow really successful lawyers, all in the online space, but they're building a personal brand. Yes, they have their agency, their firm behind them,
Mhm.
and that's a different thing, and their firm pages might not look like that, but them as the personal brand because they understand that that's where things are going to go and people and as AI takes over, and it is going to, and we have to embrace it, and there's lots of ways we can use it as writers, as content creators, as business owners, but we have to, AI is gonna become more important, but being human is gonna become more important, and that messy
Absolutely.
bit in the middle is just gonna disappear, and
Mhm.
those 2 are gonna become sharper.
Yes.
So it's that how can you make it human? How can we look into social media and still see that human there?
Absolutely. And it's really crucial because, like you say, even in a business that has multiple people working for it, if you are someone who deals with clients, with human beings on a regular basis, it just makes life and business so much smoother and nicer and more human if that person knows who they're going to be dealing with. And there's no, in the past, if you were going to meet, for example, I don't know, a greengrocer or a hairdresser or a dentist or a solicitor, somebody who was going to have some kind of impact on your life, and you met them for the first time, you're starting from ground zero. You didn't know anything about them. You don't know what their personality is. They might be really miserable. You might not get on with them. They might not be your person. And in the days of social media, we have been handed such a gift of being able to get our personalities across, get our values and get our sense of humor, get just your very face so that people feel like they already know you a little bit before that
Absolutely.
they meet you. And that just kind of speeds along the process, doesn't it? The know, like, and trust that everybody talks about. It just speeds that along. And there is no, without standing up on a stage in front of 2,000 people, there is no other way of communicating with that many people for free
Mhm.
that is faster working. So I'm a huge believer about, in the power of social media for building relationships and really getting your personality across.
And I think it's really important, like you just said, it's free, and I think people forget. So my dad, worked his way up from kind of nothing to very, very successful entrepreneur, completely changed our lives. And when I sit and tell him about social media now, he's in his 70s now. When I sit and show him on social media what you can do, he's like, so how much does that cost? And I'm like, that nothing. He's like, so you can just go and talk to people who you could
Every
sell
day.
to and who could buy from you every day, whenever you feel like it. He was like, "Do you know what I would have done? Do you know
Absolutely.
what I would have done to absolutely," he was the days of cold calling and all that. He's like, "Do you know what I would have done in those days? We would have absolutely flown."
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think people forget that, and we get so caught up, like you said, algorithm hacks, people jumping into the DMs, doing this, doing that. Forget about it.
No, it's
Forget
all about
about it. Look at the
relationships,
goods.
being human. Yeah,
Yeah.
huge.
And yeah, you can be human in the DMs, you can be human anywhere else, just be a nice human being and people will come back. And the other thing I want to pick up on there is you saying about the greengrocer. And I
Yes.
think that people forget now, like communities of past and certainly communities of my childhood, on the high streets and in the local space, everybody stayed together. Gran might be round the corner, your auntie and uncle might be somewhere else. Your cousins weren't far away. You knew people down the street who you called auntie and uncle, who weren't your auntie and uncle, but you'd known them that long. There was greengrocers, butchers, hairdressers, everybody knew each other, and you would continue to go back to the greengrocer, to the fishmonger, and you were loyal because you got to know John the fishmonger. That's who you got your fish from. And you built up these relationships. And then somebody'd say, "Oh, there's a new fishmonger open on such and such, and the cod is 50p less." And they'd be like, "But I'm not going there.
Yeah.
John's my fishmonger. I'm loyal to him." But what's happened with social media is these communities are being built up.
Yes.
These relationships are being built up, and you find the community that you feel safe and supported and heard and connected with. And that's what then builds that community that, let's face it, the majority of the time doesn't exist around us.
Hmm. Hmm.
So and when you're a business, you have to think about, so where are my customers coming from? How am I serving them? Why are they going to come back to me rather than somebody else? And generally, the only differentiation is you.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm a strategist, coach, and mentor. You can't swing a cat in the online space without hitting a million of us.
Yes, absolutely.
So The difference is me, and people work with me for me, and I think people can forget that with
Yes.
comparisonitis, with all the other dark side of the social media.
Yes, and there's no doubt that there are negative sides to it, but if you I think if you treat it with respect and you don't be a dick basically, where it's as in life, and you treat it with respect and you try to build that community, then absolutely you've just taken a huge great step ahead of other
Mhm,
businesses who aren't on social media, who are faceless and don't have a loyal following of people. So
mhm, yeah, and people want to get to know people, people want to work with people, and I don't think that is going to change. So
no.
what is your as a social media expert and somebody that will come across this a lot now, what is your feelings on AI? How do you feel about the introduction and use of AI?
I love it. I think it's here to stay. It's only going to develop. It's going to get bigger. It's going to, and again, like with social media, it will have its downsides. Everything does. But again, as a business owner, and I have a whole community of business owners around me, and I know how busy everybody is juggling all the balls. Social media, AI can make life easier, and it can help with kind of creativity when people get stuck. And I'm not a big believer in letting it do everything for you, but I do use AI on a regular basis for help with sort of maybe different angles on things. So I will, maybe if I look at a post of mine that has done well, I will have a look at that and decide why I think it's done well, and then maybe ask AI for 5 different ways of doing the same kind of thing, but with fresh ideas, and then
Mhm,
obviously work from there. It's great for research, to research, your ideal client. Once you've got an idea of who you're aiming at, you can ask AI questions about what might their pain points be, and that will help you then come up with ideas of how to help people overcome those pain points. And
mhm,
so it's like having a little assistant in your pocket
yes.
without having to actually hire somebody. Not that I'm saying don't hire people, because people are always going to be better than AI, but it is a really handy tool just for, I mean, I use it for meal planning sometimes. Just,
Me
when your
too.
brain is just so full and you're like, I cannot think beyond spaghetti bolognese 5 nights a week.
Yes,
And so I have used AI to help me with meal planning, and there, and can you make me a shopping list out of that? And it
yes.
just cuts down on the length of time that I have to do all of these jobs, because
Mhm.
I'm not alone in this. I know that every other person is the same. You have a to-do list as long as your arm, business, personal, kids, life, whatever. And if AI can help me reduce the overwhelm, reduce the stress on that, I'm going to use it. And I just
Absolutely.
do think it's a really, it's gonna stay around. It's gonna be here forever. So we are in a really fortunate position where we can get in on almost the ground floor
Yeah.
and learn as it goes, and how we can use it, and how it can shape and make our lives easier. So I am all for using AI. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. I couldn't agree with all that more. And I think people are scared to then be called out, or you used AI for this, or you used AI for that. And I think there's obviously the obvious ways people are. Doesn't bother me if I can tell somebody's used it for AI. I think you can tell if it's not somebody's voice. That's the bit that bothers me, or it's a bit boring, or them thinking like you're not going to get the results out of that maybe you wanted because of that. But that's their choice of them to do with their content, and whether I interact with it or not. I think the biggest thing that I say to my clients when they say that they use it, and I'm all for it and I tell them to use it, is when they do it too much, so that if they don't have the same train of thought as their AI, like say they use it for helping build frameworks or something like that, and like, but if you don't understand it, if you don't know it, how can you then teach it? How can you then put that in place? How can you then, but the AI is only as good as what it's fed.
Absolutely.
So it completely up to the individual from that point of view, but you have to know what you're feeding it with to be
Yes.
able to then do it in the real world. That's and if you've not got that connection, then you're going to get unstuck. The same way as if you copied somebody else before AI existed.
Yes, it's not
So I
you,
think
and therefore it's not hesitate to use the word authentic, but it's not. It's, if you are just copying someone or you are just purely relying on AI for everything, then it's not gonna be you, and if you are your business, that's a big mistake. But like you say, if you feed it the right information, if you tell it what you're thinking and give it examples of how you would speak, then it can really help you.
it's like training a member of staff
Yes, it
to
is,
become
absolutely,
part of
absolutely.
your business. It has to understand your values and who you
Mhm.
are, and that takes time. And
Yeah.
quite often, the best way AI works is the prompt is like, 5 paragraphs long for you to get one teeny paragraph out. But it needs that information. It needs to be tweaked to that level
Yes.
for it to be powerful and
Yes.
not just be the generic thing that people moan about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do quite often push back against AI and I tell it that it's not doing well, it's not doing well enough. And one of the words I use a lot when I'm answering something is nope. I just type in, nope, I wouldn't say that. And that's not what I think. And this is what I think. And I'm almost having like, not an argument, but a conversation with AI to make it understand the way I'm thinking. And then it throws out
It
some
helps with
decent
those it
ideas.
helps with those decision-making processes as
Yeah.
well, because all of a sudden, you can give it a prompt that you're wanting to do something. "This is what I'm thinking about doing my content this week. Could you help me with da 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 da?" And then it gives it exactly what you asked for, and you're like, "Yeah, that's not what I wanted." So then it makes you think again. You're getting clearer and
Yeah,
clearer
yeah, it's
as
like a
you
brainstorming thing, isn't it?
yeah, and it's that experimentation, which I guess as somebody who works on social media, you must think experimentation is a great thing.
Well, I'm always testing. I tell my clients that, it's not a once and done thing. You have to test. I can come up with different ideas of how to say the same thing over and over. And it is a process of testing and then looking at what worked and doubling down on that. But then even, the algorithm will change. So it is an ongoing process of testing things and finding what works and then tweaking. And then, so yes, experimentation is a big part of what I do and how I sort of push my clients to approach social media because it's never once and done. It's not a short
No.
term gain. It's you're in it for the long run and it's always going to change, unfortunately. But I love that. I find that exciting and trying new things and that's what it's all about. You're trying to capture people's imagination and stop the scroll. And so you've got to try
Mhm.
new things. And
Yeah,
even if
exactly,
something
and
doesn't work,
I think if you spoke to, the members of my membership, they would probably say they're sick of me saying this, but like you, I think social media is such a powerful tool, but I think people give it more power than it's worth. And I
yes.
know that's kind of like a bit of a contradiction, but it's like it's the same with if it was old newspaper ads or if you said you get mentioned in the news. Tomorrow it will be, you know, chippy pay.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's the same with their posts, how long do they last? It's different on each platform, but you're not talking longer than, 24 hours before it's like, really don't need to worry about it. So if something hasn't worked, it doesn't matter. You know it hasn't worked. And if something has worked, then great. That's you've now got that information and kind of move on. And I think the length of time sometimes it takes people to do posts or do social media is then that fear of, oh, but what if nobody likes it? And I'm like, well, if nobody likes it, nobody will see it. So you don't need
Nobody
to
knows
worry
except
about
you.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but I think sometimes there's also then that fear of, oh, but people will see me. And
Mhm.
almost that it's the same as that fear of success that
Yes.
people think they're scared of failing, but they're not. They're actually scared of what happens when they become visible and when they get the success that they're dreaming of. And that can be, social media can have that. And so, how often do your clients say that they want to go viral?
No, no, I tackle that one early. I talk about that in my content as well. And I just, I am not, that's one of the first things I tell people. I am not about virality. I'm not about influencer numbers. This is about relationship building. And, if only 5 people like a post, well, that's still 5 people. They might be, really important people and it doesn't matter. And if it's only those 5 people that have seen it, well, you might have had an impact on them and nobody else knows that no, only 5 people have
Absolutely.
seen that post. It doesn't matter. I think, like you say, people put too much emphasis on, but, I spend a lot of time on social media and I don't go around looking at the number of likes or the number of views that posts have got. It doesn't matter. If a post reaches one person that it needs to reach, then that's a successful
It's
post.
worth it.
And if it doesn't, then nobody knows. And it was
Nobody
only a
knows,
waste of
nobody's
five
seen it,
minutes
so it
of your
doesn't
time.
matter.
So it doesn't
You can
matter.
even delete it if you want.
Yes, if you
You know,
want to,
it
or
really
archive
doesn't
it.
it
Archiving's
yes.
better than deleting.
Listen to the expert, don't listen to me. I don't delete anything because I don't worry about it
No,
that
I don't.
much.
I've archived a couple of things. If I've like posted it wrong, that the captions have gone on wrong or something, I've archived it. But yeah, generally I'm just
That's a
like,
good tip, 'cause I would just delete in that instance if I'd really, because it really annoys me if I spell something wrong,
mhm, mhm. No,
particularly
well,
if
if
it's
you
on
archive
the
it, it's less of an indicator to the algorithm. It's not
okay,
crucial. It's
nice.
just one of those
Nice
little,
tip.
yeah, there you
Nice
go.
tip there. But yeah, I think that people just give it a little bit more power
Mhm,
than it is worth. And when if I have a client that comes to me and says, "But I've only got 200 followers on Instagram, or how can I?" And I'm like, if I put 200 people in a room and told you to go and speak to them about your business, would you think it was a big deal? And they're
mhm,
like, "Yeah, it'd be a massive deal." I'm like, "Well, that's exactly what you need to
yeah,
do." Yes,
100%
the algorithm's never going to guarantee those 200 people are going to see it,
being
but you
everything.
can't guarantee when you get up on stage that 200 people are going to listen. So you just need to give it your best shot. But
Absolutely, and it
on
takes time to build an audience as well, but if it takes time and your audience builds slowly rather than overnight, they're much more likely to be the kind of people you wanna be talking to, and not people who've just gone, "I'll follow you," off on a whim, and they're not
Mhm.
the people. If you go viral and you get 600 followers overnight, something's happened that you might be inundated with loads of messages, and it might just be a bit of a nightmare and you don't want that kind of attention all in one go. But B, if you've gained that many followers overnight, that would set off alarm bells in my mind. I'd be thinking, what's gone on? And are most of these followers bots? And then you've not got a good, decent audience that you really need. They're
No,
not the kind of people that you
exactly.
want in your tribes. Yeah, it's
No,
slow
but
and
that's it,
steady.
and you do want you want people, and I'm not saying you want every single person in your audience who's going to buy from you or like for you or engage, but you want it to be more of those people than not, because you want to create, like we just said, it's that community. We want to create that community around us, and people that are like us or want to be like us or want to share things with us, or, just have that engagement and that relationship building, and not just lots of people that are just never going to say anything, never engage, never buy, never do anything. And I always say, would you rather have 100 people and 10 people buying from you than 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, and nobody ever buying from you ever? It's just a vanity metric that doesn't really move your business any way forward, any shape, way, or form. And then if people compare themselves to influencers, be like, yeah, but influencers only get work when they have an engaged community. The agencies that are giving them the work are only getting it off of engagement, likes, reach. They don't just get it for having a dead following of 100,000 people that could be bots, like you say, viral, not people that are engaged. And that takes work. I don't
It
think
does.
people realize it's the same as pop stars and celebrities and famous people. People don't realize how much they want to work, and most people don't want to do the work that they do to get where they are.
Absolutely. The
And I think
overnight
social
success has
media,
actually been working 15 years in the background. And you only see
yeah,
the overnight success, don't you? But yeah, yeah.
exactly. So if there's people listening to this going, "Oh, that sounds great," but what would be like your top tips today that they could go and just look at their social media a little bit different?
Oh, gosh.
Sorry,
I would probably,
the spot.
Ooh, I would probably say look at your bio. I work mainly on Instagram. That's my kind of happy place. I help people
That's my
with
happy place.
Instagram. So I would say look at your bio, make sure that you have keywords in your bio and it's not just crazy cat lady who does X, Y, and Z. You need to be, telling people what you do and how it will help them. That your Instagram handle and your name um, field on your profile are both searchable. Um, a lot of clients that I've come across will have their handle and their name exactly the same, which in my mind is a little bit of a waste because they're both searchable fields. For example, my handle is Helen in the detail because that's my business name, and I couldn't get in the detail, so I had Helen in the detail. And then my name field is Helen Bowman, social media specialist, because they're both searchable, and it gives me two bites of the cherry, as it were. And
Yeah.
then having a little bit about what you do and how you help people in your bio is a really useful thing to do, because if they land on your grid and they want to have a little look, then they're already a little bit ahead of the game about finding what you do and if they want to work with you. I would also say the pinned posts are another thing that I suggest for my clients, because that's like you can have up to 3 pinned posts on your normal grid, and then you can also have 3 pinned reels. And the good thing about those is that because your grid is kind of like your shop window, so if somebody lands on your profile, if you've got 3 pinned posts, for example, it doesn't have to be this, but for example, an introduction to you, a post about what you do and how people can work with you, and then maybe like a client testimonial review,
Yep.
that
Yep.
kind of thing. If you pin those 3 posts, they're really nice kind of introductions. They give a visitor to your profile an insight into you, what you do, and how you help your clients without them having to search through all of your posts. Because if
Like
you,
scroll through your whole, yeah.
yes,
So if they
yeah,
come
and
across
just
your
really
page,
dig down for all the information that they need. I would also say try and have your name on your profile, because a lot of people I come across, they don't have their name on there. It's just their business name and what they do. And one of the first things I do if I'm going to message someone is I look for their name so that I can actually say, "Hi, Diane, how are you doing today?" And I just find if I feel a little bit awkward if I can't call somebody by their name. I mean, these are really kind of basic tips.
no, but you know what? They are so important, because the reason why they're important is, and you've just reminded me that I removed my pin posts a while ago and I haven't replaced them. So guess what's now on my to-do list is go and sort out. I have looked at my bio recently, and I do always look at my name. And I was just thinking about my name. I'm thinking about taking one of the words out, but that's a whole nother topic. But the reason why I think the name thing's so important as well is, if you're an Instagram OG, like my partner Ash asked me this morning who I was recording on the podcast today, and I actually said Helen in the detail because
Is it
you
called
get
that?
to know people by their Instagram handle, and that's how you get to know people, and that's how but then it gets to a point where you're like, and like you say, please always include your real name, because it gets to the point you're like, I really need to actually ask their real name now, because I'm now building a relationship, I'm getting to know them, and I don't want to get into that relationship and be a little few weeks, few months down and be like, do you know, I only know you as your handle and I still don't know
Now
you.
awkward.
And there has been people who I've met and I've said, oh, you're such and said their Instagram handle, because
Yeah,
it's so familiar and so, and I think it's so important for even your brand, that all of that ties in. And again, don't overthink it. But at the
yeah,
same
no,
time,
absolutely. It's not deep.
it's opportunities to get to know those people. And it's something I haven't gone back to, and I did want to go back to, was networking. Nobody very few people take business cards these days. So whether it's your Instagram or your LinkedIn, it tends to be the two that get spoke about at most networking events now. They want to know their handle. They want to be able to find you. And we've all done that thing. We've got back in the car after a networking thing or come off an online networking going, oh, I never asked.
Mm-hmm.
I got talking to them. I think their name's Helen. I think the name. So if you're easily searchable, then they will be able to find you, and they'll be able to say, oh, thank goodness I found you. I wanted to say hello after the networking, because that's how we build our network in our businesses, and that's how we create leads and sales in our businesses. So to you, it might seem basic, but there is going to be people who will listen to this and go, my God, I've not looked at my bio since I set up my Instagram 10 years ago. 5 years ago, even a year ago. And I think it's something that people need to look at frequently, because your
Yes,
business adapts and you adapt and the world adapts. So you've got to make sure that it's all still relevant to what you're doing at that time.
100%. Yeah, and keep
Yeah.
your
And
links
you've
up
only
to
got a
date
few
as well.
characters to do it in,
Yes, yes,
you
yeah.
know.
And again, it's easy to overthink it and then think, oh, I'll just leave it as it is. But it's better just to, take out all the jargon, take out all the sort of purple prose, take out,
Mhm.
just keep it simple, keep it plain English, and just tell people what you do, because that's what they want to know.
And ask them to do something. Sign up
Yes,
to an
and a call
email
to
newsletter,
action.
download a lead magnet, DM you, ask them to do
And
something.
on that, keep your links up to date as well. So your link in bio can be changed as often as you like. So, for example, at the moment, I have a lead magnet to sign up to. You can have a link tree. I quite like to kind of, keep just have one link to keep it really simple. And generally, it is kind of a lead magnet that I want people to download. So there are only two places where you can have live links on Instagram, and that is your link in bio, and in stories you can use live links. So don't put live links on in captions, on reels, or anything like that, because they will not be live. And I know a few people have sort of pushed back against me and said, oh, but you can copy and paste them.
Nobody
I've
does.
never copied and pasted a link, and I'm not going to
It's
start
not
now,
even that easy to copy and paste. It's not like if you're on your
especially not on
PC
your
and you just
phone.
quickly copy and
Yeah,
paste. You're on
yeah,
your phone, you're
no,
not, and nobody goes on Instagram on their PC or their laptop.
very, very rarely. Yeah,
Facebook, yeah, people will go on the Facebook. In fact, I think I only go on Facebook on
yeah, I pretty
my
much do.
laptop.
Yeah,
But Instagram's my phone. And if actually that's my scroll, that's my joy time. I won't generally scroll through the others. But that is, yeah, my Instagram's my bag. That's probably our generation. The people underneath is probably TikTok and Snapchat and ones I've not even heard of, probably.
yeah,
Um,
no, not going there.
no, we're not. We're not going there. It's definitely not useful for business anyway. So I'm absolutely not going there. Well, as you know, I ask everybody 3 questions on this podcast, and that's all around the joy in their life. So the first one is your joy spotlight, a favourite thing that has shaped your life, business, or work.
Well, I've stayed business with this one because, I mean, yes, I have several things in my personal life that bring me joy, and I could be on here all afternoon. Tea is one of them. I love tea. If anyone
Don't
follows
even
me on
get me
social
started.
media,
When you wrote tea, I was like, it's a woman after my own heart. I do enjoy a coffee, but I couldn't
tea,
live without tea.
tea. So my strapline, I know it's backwards, but my strapline is actually the home of tea and coffee. So I built it into my.
I
I love it
love
that much
that.
that I built it into my business because I'm a nerd. But no, I think probably a habit that has, again, I will say this, I will say that I am a social media nerd. The habit that has
Own it.
brought me,
Absolutely
I do,
100% own it.
kind of joy and transformation in my business is planning my content ahead of time. Now, I don't always manage this. I'm not preaching, I'm perfect and polishing my halo. I'm not. And I know that's a really wild thing to say as my, my habit of joy, but by doing that, it frees me up for all the other things I need to do in my business. It's, 2 or 3 hours of my time, a couple of times a month, that I enjoy, because I get to be a bit creative. I get to create things. I get to put things together. I get to be a bit playful. And then I can put it down and move on to other things, because I know that my social media is done. And I don't have the kind of the fear of the blank page, as it were.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
just kind of, as I say, it frees up lots of brain space and makes me feel lighter, and makes me, be able to then be creative for my clients as well. And yeah, it's something that I look forward to and enjoy. And I diarize time for it to make sure, because it's a non-negotiable. And yeah, so it's one of those nerdy answers to that question.
But it's a brilliant answer, and the reason it's a brilliant answer because it's these habits that we build that are actually, like you used the word transformational, and they are transformational. And when people ask about me about, well, successful people, what do they do, or what do you do, or how do you manage struggle all, and I'm like, it's in the really boring stuff.
Hmm.
But it's in the really boring stuff, and yours is in the detail, and it is in the detail. That's where the killer stuff is. That's where success is. Success is in the detail. And the people that are building successful businesses are the ones that are bothered about that. They're bothered about I always say in life, don't sweat the small stuff, but in business, absolutely do.
Yes.
It's the complete opposite way around when it's business, because if you take care of the details, everything else take care of itself. So it's these habits, whether we habit stack, if you like that kind of term that gets thrown around, but it's the habits that you do every single day. And it
Mhm.
was the same in my career. So I had a really long, successful career in the direct um, sales and marketing sector in the UK. Everyone used to say to me, "Oh, it used to be must be so exciting because I used to work long hours. I earned really good money, and if to other people it seemed quite exciting, but it wasn't. It was in really boring, bland offices, and it was exciting because we made it exciting because we were selling every day and we were creating every day. So it was that kind of buzz, buzz, buy, buy, sell, sell atmosphere. So that was the exciting bit about it. But the reason we were successful is because we did the same things at the same time every single day, looked at the same figure at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock to make sure, because as soon as something went out, we knew that could cost us a lot of money. So we
Yes.
had to do something about it. And it's in those details. So that kind of forward planning your content to somebody else is like, "Oh, but I like to be creative and I like to be in flow and I like to be all of these things." Like, that's all very well and good. But have you got space in your business to do that? If you can create that space, great, go with it. But it's about creating those habits. And that's why it's such a good answer. And it's an argument we have in the membership a lot, because there's people like, "Oh, I've tried the content. It takes me too long and schedule. It doesn't work for my business. And I do prefer to be creative." And I'm like, there will be elements of your content that you can. So I have elements of mine that are always pre-done and pre-scheduled, and the week will be done, or the 2 weeks. I generally don't go more than 2 weeks, but the 2 weeks will be done, and I don't need to worry about them because the same type of posts, they go out, and that's why, because that's frameworks that I work towards.
Yes.
Then there's other stuff that I leave space, that if something comes into my head today and I'm like, "Oh my God, I wanna do that," there's
Yeah.
still space to do it.
Yes. And that's a bonus.
Nobody's gonna nobody's gonna penalise you for more
No.
content.
No.
So but that the bones are there, that
Yes.
should something happen where you can't,
Yeah.
there's something going out somewhere,
Got it.
and that's the really
Yeah.
important part for me, particularly with me living with chronic illnesses. I don't know what tomorrow's gonna look like all of the time. So I like to have some sort of structure, or some sort of, "Oh, but I know that's happening." Might not be all the posts I want going out, but I know at least a couple are, so that don't need to worry about it today, because visibility is so important.
Yeah. And that's the bread and butter. If you've got, even if it's, 2 or 3 times a week, if you've got that going out, that's the pressure lifted off your shoulders. That's not to say
Mhm.
that you can't jump out of bed one morning and think, "I've just had a brilliant idea for a post and I can't post it because," but post it, and that's a
Yeah.
bonus and that's brilliant. But as long as you've got a good sound basis, that that posts that are going out on a regular basis, then you can get creative, and you might even find that because you've got your day-to-day posts going out, that your brain finds more creativity, and you start coming up with more ideas. Whereas if you've got the pressure of, "Oh God, I've got to post 2 or 3 times
Oh,
this week,"
first thing in the
and
morning, soon as
like, no,
I couldn't handle waking up in the morning and having my first cup of tea, and all I'm sitting there thinking is, "What am I
what am
gonna
I going to
post?
post?
What am I gonna post?" And that doesn't mean those days don't happen. They do, 'cause life's, but I like them to be as few and far between as possible, thank you very much.
Absolutely, me too.
I like to enjoy my tea with a side of as blank mind as I can get,
And
which
a
is
sigh of
another.
contentment.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and the next one is inspired by joy, a book or mentor who stays with you and has changed things for you.
Okay, well, I have two women who come to mind when I read this question, and it is very of the now,
Mhm,
because my business has changed in the past probably 2 years. I have had to reassess things. Life has lifed, as you say. And so I have. And I've always been the kind of person who likes to not rely on other people. Like, I'm very
mhm.
independent to my detriment sometimes. And I've had my business for 19 years. It's 19 years old last month. And
That's amazing.
I'm very proud of that, and I
You
don't
should
wanna let
be.
that go. But on the whole, I have done that by myself. I've not hired anybody. I've not had a mentor. I've not had a coach. I've not done anything like that. And I've just got to the ripe old age of today and thought, "What am I doing? I'm just making my life more difficult. I'm just being pig-headed and stubborn and, a little
The
bit."
wrong kind of proud.
Yes, yes. Pride has got in the way, definitely. And in the past 6, 7 months, I've just gone, "Stop being stupid." I've given my head a little rap, and and reached out in a couple of ways. And there are two women in the past, literally 6 or 7 months, who have made a huge impact on my life. The first is a lovely lady called Tracy Butcher, who is a founder of Founder Mums. Now, that's a quite new business. I think she's only been going for a year in her current business. And it's basically a membership for founders who are mums. You see,
Yeah.
she picked a good name there.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm quite an introvert in real life, and I've joined groups with, a bit of a flurry of enthusiasm and thought, oh, I'll really get involved. And then I've kind of gone, oh no, it's not actually for me. And I've backed off a little bit and just become a lurker, not through anyone's fault, just because I know that's the kind of thing that I do. But I just feel like, when you just meet a person and then they've kind of established a tribe around them, and you just feel immediately at home and supported. Founder Mums has really done that for me, and I just feels lovely. And I think it's come at a right time where I've been working on my confidence. So I
Yeah.
would always be, like I say, a lurker. I wouldn't offer my opinion. I wouldn't speak about anything unless somebody directly asked me a question. I would just kind of hang back and go, no, nobody needs to know what I think about this subject. And it's probably a bit of a coincidence that that side of me, I've changed. I've gone, my opinion is valid, and I've got a bit more confident in my knowledge, because I have got a lot of knowledge and expertise in what I do. And finding this group and those two have come together. And I feel like I've found a tribe, which is really lovely.
Yeah. It's
And
so important.
it's really important. And they all live, like the majority of them live down outside London, and I'm up in the northeast of England, a long way away. There are another couple of members who live up here, sort of within 45 minutes of me, and I've met them in real life, which is nice. But she's working on, making this a nationwide thing. And she just seems to attract really lovely people, really supportive
Mhm.
women. And it just feels like it's made a real difference to my business. And I have
Mhm.
run business through the group, and I've given business to the group. And it's just, I love what Tracy's created. And so that's had a big impact on me. And then I have also reached out to a business coach for the first time ever. I've invested in myself and in my business. So that is a lady called Jenny Donato, and she's my business coach. She has a program called Altitude, and so she's got like a team of coaches, and there's
Okay.
coaches for just about everything you can imagine. So it's personal and business and mindset and confidence and all of the things that go into really pulling a business together and kind of pushing it forward, I guess. And I signed up with her in April, and have since then kind of changed the way my business works. So
Okay.
while I do still do like done for you social media management and that kind of thing, I do still do that because I enjoy it and I don't want to not do that. I've also developed a program for teaching people how to do it themselves, because
Perfect.
a lot of the people I come across, they want to do it themselves. They just don't know where to start, or they
Uh-huh.
feel like they're just dabbling. So, she's helped me kind of, or her and her team have helped me kind of realize that I can build that into my business as well, that side of things. And yeah, and I think she's also at the same time as, my confidence has sort of been on the up. She's helped me with mindset and help sort of boost that confidence as well. So yeah, I think I've just kind of stepped into two really lovely groups of people who have helped me at a time when I really needed help. So they're probably the mentors that I really look up to at the moment.
But I think it's that thing, isn't it? It's so important that we find our spaces, and we find our, and there is literally that many different spaces available
Yes.
for us, offline, online, and that can become overwhelming when you're trying to find the space. But sometimes you just know when you've found it.
Yes.
Sometimes you've just known, and as somebody who has a membership and has a community, I also know the difference when the people who join it.
Yes.
Somebody can come in and you can be like, right, okay, they feel as much home to you as you do to them.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas the wrong person can join and you can think, and not wrong in any bad way or anything like that, but just like, oh, I'm not sure if this is for you, but I'll welcome, because everybody's welcome in my community. But there is really no requirement apart from well, you said it before, don't be a dick. So that's literally the requirement for my community is literally don't be a dick. But it is then that thing of, but some people just don't gel with everybody who is there, and growing the community, it's so important to me that, not that I don't upset the OGs, because it's not about not upsetting them, but we have built something. So
Yeah.
you want people to come in and you want them to feel that, because that's the reason that they'll feel more confident and they'll feel welcome and they'll want to stay and they'll grow like you have grown in the community that you have found. And it's just so important about finding the right one, and don't stay in a community if it's not feeding you and giving you
Yeah.
something that you can take away. And the beauty of these communities is it doesn't always have to be business, like you said. It can be friendships, it can be support, it can be somewhere you feel seen and heard, it can be somewhere to be a sounding board and a bit of a moan and a breath and those types of things. And then, but it's got to be the type of support that you want is really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think I've searched around and I've become hesitant to join things like that because I've kind of gone, well, maybe I just don't have the right personality type to, to feel like I belong in one of these groups, because I've just searched for one high and low, and then I've kind of put myself off doing that. And so I've just kind of accepted the fact that I'm not going to become a part of a community. But then when you actually do find a community that welcomes you with open arms, it's really lovely. And I think it's everybody gets things out of it then, don't they? Because
Mhm.
you become each
Exactly.
other's network. And
Part of the reason that I created mine is that I'm naturally an introvert, she says, as a podcast host and somebody who floats herself on social media every day, but that's work.
same.
I'm a complete introvert. I'm happy in my home. I wouldn't ever go out if people didn't make me.
Yes,
Um,
me too.
and I needed to create a community because actually I needed the responsibility.
Mm.
So I needed that, and what I get from my members, and I say this to them frequently, is they give me as much as what I give them. So it's not about me. Obviously, it's great to be the authority and the leader of something like that and what it gives you in other spaces. But ultimately, it's I needed that responsibility to show up and not just be a lurker and not just be, I feel like I need to be the supporter. And that's part of my personality and things like that as well. So I needed to create a space because I was going into spaces and thinking, I don't really know
Yeah.
how I
What
fit. There's
what am
been
I
one
doing?
space I've entered into that I've thought I can be myself here.
Hmm.
I can show up as me. I can show up as the messy mum. I can show up with the full makeup and hair done. I can be everything in between,
Yes.
and it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's really important to me. So, but I did feel I had to go and create my space.
But that's worked for you, and that's amazing.
Yeah,
I'd love to
exactly.
do that, but yeah, no, I think that's incredible. Well done, you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the joy killer. So that's the one thing you would like to see gone from the world.
It would have to be comparisonitis. Yeah, just comparison. And I think in all aspects of life, it's not just on social media, but it just, it's a thief of joy, basically. And, if you go onto, and everybody does it, if you're having like a bad day and you go onto Instagram and you start comparing yourself to someone who does something similar to you, or someone who doesn't even do anything similar to you, but they're just showing up a bit more regularly. It can just make you shrink inside yourself. And I've done
Mhm.
that so many times. And yeah, so I would ban comparison, because I just think it's the killer of so much creativity and so much joy, and it's so easy to become a victim of. And so I always try and stay in my own lane and just think, people work with me because of me. Yes, other people do the same kind of thing that I do, but they aren't me and I'm not
Mhm.
them. And if people want to work with them, fine. If they don't, come to me. And, and I don't know whether it's as I've got older, I've become a little bit wiser and a little bit less sensitive about that kind of thing. But I just think, yeah, I've really worked hard on the comparison thing, because it is a killer. So I would have it outlawed, banished.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, and like you say, and you said a phrase that I constantly use, that I think used to be quite a negative phrase, but I don't think it is now, is it's staying in your own lane.
Hmm.
Just staying at why, when you work on your business foundations, when you know why you're doing something, when you know what your values are, and you decide the direction that you are taking, that doesn't mean you can't see what somebody's done, be impressed and think, I really like the route that they've took. I should really try. And, you can get not influence, inspiration. You can get inspiration from that. You can be inspired by somebody. You can aspire to what
Yes,
people have. But I just think you need to do it in your own way, because the only way, and we've talked to us about social media a lot, so if we do it through that lens, the only way for you to show up consistently, which you need to do on social media. The only way to go live or go on stories or take pictures of yourself is just to be concerned about why you are doing it and what the bigger vision and dream is. Because on the days where it's hard, that's what will make you say, oh, do you know what? I don't care. I'm doing it. Or the days you're like, oh, I look tired, but I need to do this story. So you just do it, because it's not about that. It's about the thing in the future. It's about what you're building towards. And too often when we're comparing to people without knowing anything about their lives.
absolutely. Yeah.
Or we're comparing to somebody who is 7 years ahead of us.
Hmm.
So we're looking and thinking, but they've got this many followers, or they've just had this launch that made them that amount of money, or they're now doing this type of holiday, because how can I not do that? You can't do that because you're at the inception of your business, or the messy middle. They've gone through all of this.
Yes.
It's like you said, it's that overnight success story that took 10 to 15 years to
Yeah,
build,
absolutely.
and we just see the end result.
Yes,
We just see the end. We don't see the rest of the bits in the middle. And then the ones we do see in the middle, we just think, how amazing are they talking about it when they're in the middle? So
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
just need to do you and just stay in your own lane. And if you don't have those strong foundations, build them. Find the communities, find the help, and so often the help you need is the belief, is the mindset. You know, 80% of business is mindset, 20% is strategy, says the strategist. You have to work on that mindset. You can't
Absolutely.
expect to be like, oh, I've copied their funnel, I've copied the way they do this, and I'm doing it line by line by line. Well, one, that might not suit you.
Hmm.
And two, if your mindset's gone, if you're doing that and then sitting at home, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to
Yeah,
work, I can't do
it's not
this, I
going to
can't.
work.
Guess what? You're right. It
Mhm.
isn't going to work. And I
Absolutely.
think comparison just is poison.
It
It's
is.
just,
It is. And it
complete
weevils its
poison
way
for.
in, doesn't it? And I think when if you're having an off day, it really can get to you. When you're feeling strong and positive, you can brush it off. But if you're having an off day, they're the days that you need to just kind of stay away and just put your blinkers on,
Yes.
control
Make a
what
cup of
you can
tea.
control, make a cup of tea. You can control the tea at all times, and just control what you can control. And it's the same, in life, in business, whatever. You can't control other people. You can only control what you're doing. And I've learned that the hard way. Uh,
You'll
yeah,
continue to learn it.
yeah,
And those
yeah.
people that we're comparing ourselves to, who are years ahead of us, they're comparing themselves to somebody
Yourself.
else.
Yeah, absolutely. You've no idea what they're going through, and in the background they might be crying and rocking in a corner, but their social media
Mhm.
looks amazing. Which is one of the and I do appreciate that. That's one of the downsides of social media is it's all very shiny and blingy, and it's not real life. And that's why I do consciously make an effort sometimes when I'm sat without my makeup on, with my glasses on in the morning. I haven't even, properly got myself dressed, and I will do the occasional story like that, because I think it needs to be real life. It's not all polished and full face of makeup and, all the good things.
Mhm.
I do try to be more real life about it rather than, reality
It is
versus
so
Instagram.
important. It is so important. But it's also important for people to know that you can just follow people that make you feel good.
Yes,
If something's
absolutely.
making you
Absolutely.
feel bad consistently, not just on an off day, but literally every time you see it, that's not on them, that's on you.
Yes.
And you can unfollow, you can mute if you don't want to unfollow, if you don't wanna make it that
Yeah.
political. You can, although most people wouldn't notice.
Yes. No.
You can mute. You do not need to see every post, every story,
Absolutely.
and even if
Absolutely.
it's just for a while, there's lots of different communities in the social media space. I struggled to have children, and there's lots of people who were in that space who would then get pregnant, and they would then say, by all means, mute me, unfollow me now, because I know how hard it was to watch that.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
know, And it's just, you can do that. So if you're looking at your feed thinking it's all the wrong people, I don't want to be following these people, have a little unfollow and you follow again.
Little
Follow the
break.
people that make you feel
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
can make all the difference when you're,
Even
I want to go
something
on social media and feel good about it.
Yeah, and I went through a phase of following, when I was, because I love when people do try-ons and that kind of
Yeah.
thing, but it was all people who looked nothing like me, and it made me feel bad. So I went and there are so many of them. I went and found women who look like me, and now I
Yes.
follow them, and it makes me feel so much better about wanting to buy clothes and wanting to look
Yes.
nice in my clothes. And it's just little things like that. Yeah, they do make a huge difference, even if you think they don't. There's something going on in the brain that just
There's got to be a reason why you follow people, and sometimes entertainment's absolutely fine, and sometimes it's because you like what they do, or it's interiors, or it's homes, or it's business, or, just you can create the feed you want to create. It
100%,
doesn't need
that's
to
what it's
be.
all about. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
it's all about, and that's what
and
the
that'll
algorithm
help your
works to do.
algorithm too.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. So if people want to find you, come and work with you, just do a nosy at your own social media, where do they find you, Helen?
They find me on Instagram, it's where I am. I am surgically attached to my phone. I'm one of those sad people. So
That
it's my Instagram handle is Helen in the detail. I'm there a lot. And yeah, just send me a DM, drop me a follow. That would be lovely. I'm also on LinkedIn. I can't say I'm any more professional on LinkedIn than I am on Instagram. I'm just
no,
me.
me neither.
So yeah, but Helen Bowman on LinkedIn, but mainly Helen in the detail on
Find
Instagram.
you on Instagram and go
Yeah,
from there is the best
yeah,
thing to probably do. Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
Now, don't let everybody leave without us finally answering a last question.
Okay.
And that is, what joy legacy would you like to leave behind?
Gosh. Is this? Is this in life or in business?
Yes.
In
Anything
life.
at all. Life, business, it could
I
be a
think,
really good pot of tea, whatever.
goodness me, this is a big question. I think probably um, it's going to be a little bit more lifey, because I feel like I've come through quite an evolution in my life. I was probably a bit of a pessimist when I was younger. I would always, a glass half empty kind of person, a little bit Eeyore, maybe. And I've come to realize I have done a complete switch around. I'm much more positive these days. I'm all about positive thinking and being grateful and gratitude and all that kind of thing. So I think if I can teach my children anything, because I think it's a really good sound basis, and they're 11 and 14, and I have tried this on many occasions to sit and chat with them about what was good today and what have you enjoyed. And I think it would be to look quite simply, you said it, to look for the joy in every day and be positive. And I think if I can teach them a little gratitude habit, that would be it. And that that sounds really that sounds
It doesn't
really
at all. As a fellow Eeyore who has spent her adult life trying to be more poo.
yes,
I told joy's all over. My community is called the Joy Work Club membership, Joy Work Members Club podcast, the Joy Work Show. But I work at Joy,
yes.
like it's full,
That's the
like it's
thing.
a job.
If it doesn't come naturally, that doesn't mean that you don't have it. It just means you have to
No,
form those habits,
no,
doesn't it? And I have
yeah,
worked hard on that. And if I can help my children do that at an earlier age than I did, then I think it's really gonna sort of shape their future a little bit more positively.
and it's always that thing that they say as well, that if you want to change the world, start at home.
Yes.
And if we can make the difference with our children to be slightly different as a generation than us,
Hmm.
then we're doing. You want to leave the world a better place than you left behind, and that's looking pretty much impossible these days. But if we can just do that with those
Your
closest
small
to us,
corner, yes, your small
yeah,
corner of the world
it's
is all
those
we can
ripples.
do.
It has a massive ripple effect. We are learning so much as human beings, so I think the fact to leave that behind, to learn gratitude, it goes a long, long way.
It
It really,
does.
really does, and I am yeah, well, when I said that I was calling things joy in my business and that I had to take pictures of myself on social media, there was lots of people that fell off their chairs that knew me. They're like, "You? Joy? Really? Okay. We'll see how that goes."
You're like, well, thank you very much.
Yeah. But it's because I work at it, and I do believe, part of my whole thing is that joy is to be work it's a choice.
Yes.
Yeah, birthdays happen. Yeah, there'll be a balloon, but the rest of it is a choice. You just need to
Yes.
open your eyes and see it. So I love
Brilliant.
that one. I love
Good.
it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've so enjoyed the conversation, and there's so much more that I could have brought up, as always, in these podcasts, but as a podcast that people do want to listen to in a certain amount of time. So
Yes.
thank you so much for joining me today, Helen. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. What a brilliant conversation with Helen. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope you now feel you have permission to show up as you and have that freedom on social media that maybe you never felt before. Before we wrap up, here are my 3 key takeaways from today's episode. Number 1, that personality beats perfection. In an overcrowded online world, it is your unique voice, your quirks, your weirdness if you feel it, and presence will always connect more deeply than polished cookie cutter content. Your audience want to work with you, buy with you, watch you, collaborate with you, engage with you, not anybody else. Number 2, the experimentation is essential. Social media evolves constantly. It is always changing. We're always told about a new platform, a new way the algorithm works, a new way to post our content. And the businesses who thrive are the ones who are willing to adapt, test, and learn along the way and adapt their content. You can still be you, whether it's on a reel or a thread or a carousel or in a trial reel or anything else that gets thrown our way. Still showing up as you and adapting, testing, and then learning along the way. And number 3, that joy is found in gratitude. And this is something that is not a stranger on the Joy Work Show. When we stop comparing and start appreciating the journey that we're on, we unlock the joy that fuels both our creativity and our resilience. And quite often it's that choice in the morning when we wake up to be thankful of what we have, where we are, how we are feeling, that gives us that fuel to carry on for the rest of the day. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Joy Work Show. If you loved this episode, please make sure to follow, rate, and review the podcast. It helps more people find us, and that helps us have more of these conversations. And of course, if you want to come and carry on the conversation, come and join us inside the Joy Work Club, the free community where we take these conversations further, where you can learn from each other. Until next time, keep choosing joy, showing up as you, and getting rid of the comparison.